Good afternoon, everybody. Just a sound check. Let me make sure that my voice is coming through.
Yes, we can hear you.
Fantastic, thank you. So welcome to this installation of our market research series of trainings. My name is Anna Ehrman. I'm the director of the Strategic Outreach and Communications team here at the VA OSDBU office. With me on the line are Wendy Bray and Curtis Brandon. They are program analysts at the Strategic Outreach and Communications, and they will help monitor chat, answer questions, and speak up if I get stuck. So please let us know if you have any questions as we're going through. I will try to keep my eye on the chat, but no promises. So I will launch right in. We have about an hour, and I'll spend a few minutes on the demo. So we have some screenshots. You will get a copy of the slides, and these will serve as a way for you to jog your memory so you could go back and walk through the steps that we pursued here. And after the screenshot demo, we'll actually do some live searching to show you how it happens. It will be an interactive session. I may ask for you to think of a keyword or an X code or something like that, just to make it a little bit more relevant. I don't expect that we'll go the whole hour, so I will be more than happy to stay and answer any questions that you have. And also, we will put a link to the rest of the trainings in this market research series so that you could learn even more of these data tools. So with that, oh, and yeah, thank you, Curtis, for reminding. This session is being recorded, so you could find it on YouTube later, share it with your friends, go back and rewatch any of the sections that that you'd like to review again. Right. So today we'll go through two big components of the SAM website, of the opportunities section of the SAM website. There are three things that I really love teaching small businesses about, and two of them we'll cover today. The third one requires its own session. So we will learn how to search for opportunities, include save them, and follow up on them. And then we'll also look at some of the standard reports that are available to you that the government has already put together to make it easy to get a dashboard and to get your hands on some information and some analytics tools relatively quickly. Just as a reference, the pages that we will be looking at will start at SAM.gov. There are a couple of quick reference links here for you if you need help to get back to your workspace, and also for the reporting there are direct links to that, but we'll get to everywhere from SAM.gov itself. These are just some bookmarks to make your journey through this information next time around a little bit easier. So the first thing that I want to show you is we all start off at the same place, and this is intended to be an introductory level video. So if you already know how to do this, follow along. You may learn a nugget or two, but really the intent here is for folks that haven't really used SAM or are kind of novices to it or are maybe timid about using it. You know, we'll teach you to dive into the shallow end of the pool here. So this is the view of SAM.gov as you get into the site before you log in anywhere. You can search for opportunities directly from here without logging in. So the on the second half of the page where you see the red arrow and it says already know what you want to find, you could select the domain or not bother to select the domain. And usually the way I use it sometimes is if I have a solicitation number or an RFI number, I could just put that in. Or if I'm looking for a particular contracting officer, I could put in somebody's email address. The search doesn't work for every element of SAM. For example, if you wanted to look up companies or entities, you have to be logged in. So it will turn up 0 results if you do some searches. If you're starting to get search results that have 0, try logging in and searching it again. Also, since you are doing this without logging in, you will not be able to save anything that comes up in the search. So it's good for finding something really quickly, but for ongoing research and really being able to dive in and save it and manipulate it, you'll want to take a couple of extra moments to log yourself in. Once you do, so to log in, you hit the little sign in button. And once you do, the page will look very similar. So you'll still have the quick search button here, but at the top, you will see your menu is changed. At the top right, you'll see requests, notifications, and workspace. And I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt myself for a second. I see some folks with their hands up. Curtis, would you mind giving instructions for asking questions?
Hey, Anna, I've been responding to them.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Excellent. So this page, Gregory, it's SAM.gov, SAM.gov. And I will show you exactly the steps, but I wanted to get you the screenshot so you know what to expect. And we will, off the top right menu here that's highlighted in red, we'll spend some time on the workspace, but that's really about it. This website is a combination of about 9 or 10 different systems of record for federal users. So not all of the information in here is useful to small businesses. Not all of it is accessible by small businesses. For example, the wage determination, some of the reporting contract data is only available internally. So you, some of this menu might look different, and how far you can click through will be there, will show up differently. Okay. All right. So after you're logged in, what we'll do next is I just wanted to highlight what the workspace is going to look like, because that's a place you could always get back to and find where you left off. So if you click on the workspace at the top right here, it has essentially 3 components. The downloads we won't spend much time on at all. That's if you're looking to download big data sets, usually for ingesting into analytics software, into a database like SQL, or doing something with Power BI. But for the focus, for the point of looking for opportunities and saving those searches and following those opportunities, we'll look at the looking glass stuff, and then on the following, that's the binoculars here. So the save searches is whatever kind of search you create, you'll be able to save that. So for example, if I'm searching for everything that includes the word bottle, or everything that includes the state of Georgia, I'll be able to save that. And then I could quickly recreate that search just by looking at the save search. I could also set up some automatic alerts as well. And the following, the difference with the following segment is that is for specific records within that search. So if I look for everything that is that says the bottle, and I have that search, if I click on one of them and it is a sources sought notice for some glass bottles for medications, that requirement, that opportunity itself, I could save or follow, and then I'll be able to be notified and stay aware of any changes to it, and also be able to come back to it as I needed to. So we're going to walk through doing a search and saving that search, and then following the opportunities or the individual records. Now, I did see out of the corner of my eyes some questions about other aspects of SAM. That is outside the scope of this particular training. We're just focused on identifying, finding those contracting opportunities and notices. So if we have time, we may be able to touch on some of the others at the end, but no promises right now. So like I mentioned in the beginning, you could just go to that search bar on the front page and do a quick search by something very specific. However, if you want to define your search a little bit better, and if you want to be able to specify the parameters more precisely so that your set of results is more useful to you, you'll want to define it better. And there are ways to there are ways to do just that. So on the search screen, we could select the domain, contract opportunities. Then we could pick how we want to search. So do we want to use a particular keyword or solicitation number? Do we want a type of set aside? Do we want to search for opportunities within a specific federal agency? We could also search for things that are active. That means they are ongoing. For example, if it's a sources sought or special notice or a solicitation that's out right now. There are some cases where you may want to search for things that are inactive as well. For example, if you want to understand what a particular federal agency has procured in the last 6 months, you don't want to just know what's coming up. You also want to know what recently happened. Also, if you're looking to get a good database of contracting offices and points of contact, you'll want to see what was bought recently, not just what's coming up in the future. It'll give you a much broader perspective of your potential customer. So I selected some keywords, I defined a search, and I ran it. Now, I did the screenshot a while ago. Do I remember what was on it? Well, I don't really have to, because when I open up the search, so this is a saved search. If you see said a word, so I selected by a word, and the word is rug. So it keeps that. So I know that I searched for items that had the word rug in them. And this is a list of results. So this is a search. And you could see 1, 2, and then a third one. And they display in sets of 25 and go in as many pages as are relevant to the criteria of the search. What I can do next is I could download this. So it'll have these results with these fields. And I could also save the search. If I choose to save it, it will show up in my list of saved searches, which I'll show you a little bit later on. What I could also do is I could click on this one, for example, and it will open up a record. So that's the record or the opportunity. They call them all opportunities. And you could scroll down and find any attached documents, in addition to what's listed here: place of performance, description, point of contact for the contracting office. If there are changes to the requirement, you could click on view changes and it will update the fields and it will update the information on this page and it will highlight the differences. So for example, if there's a date change, it will show that. This is a screenshot, so I can't really click on it right now. But if we come across any active searches that have changes on it, we'll be able to refresh that. Now, if I like this carpet installation opportunity and I want to save it or follow it, I can do just that. And do I have a screenshot? Yes. So I did not select the screenshot here, but I will show you how to do that when we do a live search. So at the top, there will be an ellipsis and you could select follow, and then it will show up here in the list of your followed opportunities. Unfortunately, this particular followed records dashboard doesn't have a lot of information on it. So you can't sort it by agency, you can't sort it by date or anything. You have to remember what they are. Especially if you have a large number of them, you may want to copy and paste them into a spreadsheet so that you could internally sort and you won't have to click through every single one of them if you're hunting for a particular requirement. If you're only following 2 or 3 opportunities, it won't make much of a difference. let me take a pause here, and I'll check in. Curtis, Wendy, are there any questions so far that I should address in live?
Hey, Anna, we had one question. Excuse me. We had one question that said, can you search contract opportunities without logging into SAM.gov?
Yes, like I mentioned at the beginning, you can, but the number of criteria is kind of limited, and then you can't save it. But I'll show you how to do that for sure.
And one of the things I wanted to add, because some people are having difficulties locating the Q&A box, we ask that any questions that you have, please direct them to the Q&A box. It's easier for us to be able to track your questions in the Q&A instead of the chat. If you are using the laptop, on the far right-hand side, you should see some boxes that say participants and chat and Q&A. Use the Q&A box for your questions. And then if you are on a mobile device, if you're in the application, you can, there are, I think, 2 or 3 dots. When you click on that, it's going to be 2 tabs that you see. And one of the tabs says Advanced. If you click on that and scroll down to the bottom, it'll say Q&A, and you'll select Q&A, and then you'll be able to input your question. There was another question. I'm trying to see it from in the chat. Yes, there was a question about the recording. The recording will be made available. My colleague Curtis added that information in the chat, stating that it will be on our YouTube channel. Everyone will receive notification via email, all the participants, when the recording has been uploaded. So you'll receive an email with that link, as well as you'll receive a separate email with the presentation, because a copy of the presentation will be provided.
There's
I found another question. I guess one more question, Anna, that I found.
Go ahead.
It said, this example appears to show a contract that has already been awarded. Is it possible to search for ones that have not been awarded to a contractor?
Yes, absolutely. So the contract opportunities is not time bound. The way that we create a search will allow us to search for things that we want included or excluded. So for the purposes of putting together the screenshots, whether or not it's awarded, it doesn't really matter. It looks the same. But when we do a live search, yes, I will show you how to find that and how to do it. This is intended to be for illustration, for example, so that you could easily walk through the steps as you need to. All right, so
I have another question if you have time, Anna.
Sure, yes.
Can we search state and local government opportunities in SAM? If not, can you advise best approach for SLED research?
So this goes to the constitutional law classes. The federal government has a database of record, which is SAM. Every federal agency that is congressionally funded has to put their opportunities in here over a certain threshold. State and local governments don't have to. They are their own separate government entities. Many states have their own portals, some better than others. Virginia has a great one, EVA, eva.virginia.gov. Yeah, I worked in Virginia for 8 years, so that's why it's an easy reference. There are some sources. I know many of the Apex accelerators have an opportunity subscription service that's a pretty nominal fee that aggregates many state and local searches, but there is no holistic resource because they're all different entities with their own different rules. So that's the best answer I could provide. Unfortunately, it's not a satisfactory. Yes, Mana, thank you. Work with the Apex accelerators. Right. Okay.
That's
Moving
all
on.
the questions for now. We'll keep looking for some. Thank you.
Sure. All right. So let's do the live searches, and then we'll switch back and we'll do the reports, the standard report section. So what I'm going to do is I will log into SAM, and I'm going to use my personal account so that my screen will look similar or as close to yours If I were to use my government login, it will look slightly different. And I did see a question in the chat that my screen looked different than yours. SAM changes without any notice, so that you'll see slight tweaks all the time. In fact, from the last time I did it a couple of months ago to now, there may be some other changes. If there are, we'll figure it out. Also, I did do the screenshots on my government login, so that's why you may have seen something slightly different. So just like you, I'm going to have to use my authenticator to log in. So give me a second here. And this is my old email address. This is a very not exciting, but a very necessary part of the process. Okay. So here we go. I don't have a company associated with it, so that might look a little different too. All right. So my login screen, so they actually did change it since the last time we did, because it doesn't look like the homepage anymore. So let's see if I go to SAM. Okay, so now it gets me back to that initial screen. So what we're going to do here, now you could do the search, right? If I wanted to search just for I don't know, bottles, like I mentioned, I can just do that, and it will come up with a search of all the things that are bottles. And I didn't specify the domains, right? Because like I mentioned, there's a number of databases in here. We are only dealing with contract opportunities, so we could have just done contract opportunities and bottles. So this search is for contract opportunities and bottles. So back to the general screen. So we could do a search from here. We could select the domain from here. Another way to do it is we could go to search. If we go to the search, it fast tracks us to that listing of the different organizations. Now you'll see that it's truncated here. It doesn't look quite right. That's because we didn't figure out which domain we want our search to be in. So instead of all domains, we want to search for contract opportunities. And now it allows me to select all the criteria of the search for the contract opportunities. So for now, if somebody wants to give me a keyword, could do a search based on that keyword. But I will highlight a couple of, or expand a couple of these sections, and I'll show you how we could select or narrow down some of our opportunities. Right, computer sales, trucking. Oh, I like trucking. All right, we're gonna go with trucking for now. I may be able to use the some of the other ones later as well. So let's do trucking. Federal organizations, you could select it by an agency, right? And you could start typing in Veterans Affairs, but I don't necessarily want to narrow it down to the VA. If you do, that's fine. You could select certain dates. So for example, things that are due within the next 3 days. Maybe you are bored. Maybe you want quick hit opportunities. Maybe you just want to see what a particular office is buying within the next couple of days. So then, so you could narrow it down by that. You could also do the notice type. So is this, there we go. Is this a sources sought notice? Is it pre-solicitation? Is it an actual solicitation? Or is it an award notification? If you leave it open, you'll be able to get all of them. Product and service information, you could narrow it down by PSC code or NAICS code. Set aside, this is where I often advise companies to hit the brakes a little bit. I know sometimes it is tempting to look only for opportunities within a specific set aside, but unless you are specifically excluded from that socioeconomic category, it is worth knowing what else is out there within the broader scope of opportunities besides your own socioeconomic. For example, if you are a veteran-owned small business, you want to know not just things that are set aside for veteran-owned companies. You also want to know what is set aside for all small business, because you're still eligible, and you want to know what is full and open or unrestricted that anybody could bid on. This is especially important for sources sought notices and requests for information, because at that point, the government is trying to decide whether or not they have a case for set aside. And if you're only looking for things that are, you won't have an opportunity to tell the government that you exist and that there are small and socioeconomic category businesses that could do the work. Therefore, the government doesn't set aside, and there are fewer actual solicitations in that set aside program. So if your searches allow it, and if you're looking for a broader opportunity over a long term, leave the set aside blank and see what opens up to you. Place of performance, that's a geographic, where the work is being done. And if you're looking for award announcements, then obviously that information, and also the status, active, current, inactive, that means that are not currently going on. There are additional filters that you could narrow down, if it's certain very specific criteria. If you're looking for a point of contact, you can certainly do that. So that's available to you as well. So we were, let's see. So I typed in trucking, but then I moved on to other things. So what I didn't do is the right thing, which is this. Select trucking and hit enter. Now you see it added it as a little green bar here. If I choose not to do trucking, I hit X. But I did select the next 3 days. So let's try next 3 months. That's better. So this is my search set. Before we move on, well, actually, let me show you how to save it, and then I'll answer questions about searching, and then we'll go on and look at a specific record. So to save this, I will go to Actions, I'll hit the little down arrow, and I will save this search. And I will save this as trucking, December 2023. Save. And then now it shows with my typo and everything. And then I'll be able to go to the workspace and find that. So any search related questions? Curtis, Wendy? Either you guys are
I have
muted.
a few questions, Anna, but not pertaining to searching.
Okay.
One of them was, are the accounts for SAM individual, or can a company have more than one SAM user enrolled?
An entity could have multiple users enrolled. The entity registration is something that your Apex Accelerator would be able to help you with, but you could, yes, you could definitely have multiple users, even with different access abilities to the company records.
Another question, are the RFQs on SAM also posted on eBuy?
Not necessarily. If the requirement is going through an existing vehicle, it doesn't have to be posted on SAM. So it depends on what they're trying to do. But those are not open. They are already within the awardee list for those contracts. All right, so there is a question. Now, the more general questions, I'm not ignoring them. We'll just leave them to the end. But now I want to focus on the technical aspects of doing a search. So a question from Anthony, recommendations on how to narrow the search with specific characters or keywords. So you could, and this is an art versus a science. So if, for example, it depends on the industry. So in software, you may want to narrow it down to a specific software name, or a tool or a certification. You may also try to narrow it down based on geography or based on an agency. It's that can get really specific, but yeah, there are definite ways you could narrow it down. Especially in the beginning when companies are trying to understand federal, try to focus on maybe 2 federal agencies at a time and ignore all the others until you understand better. Otherwise, you will get overwhelmed because the federal government buys a lot of stuff all the time. So these things are coming. These things keep coming and they don't stop. Before I start quoting pop songs from the 90s. The all words options will show the opportunity wherein there's a word wherever we're searching under the option. Yeah, so it'll search words within the opportunity. Yes. And quick aside to leave before I switch over, there is no VA registration. There is a different a page where you could put in your capabilities, but the VA does not have a registration requirement. If the date on the right side reads current date offers due and it has already passed, does that mean you can't apply anymore? Yes. So for example, let's do that one, right? Well, no, offers due is 21st, so that's still fine. So it depends. If it's a solicitation, those deadlines are firm. If it is a sources sought notice or RFI, you could contact the contracting office, and sometimes they may be able to take late responses because they're doing market research. It's not as rules bound and is not that strict. But if it is a solicitation, then deadlines are quite firm. All right. So we have a list of our searches. Yes, past awards are posted. They are inactive. So if you want to look at things that are also inactive, you check that box, and then you'll have a whole bunch more. Inactive are things where the date for industry to do something with it has passed. So if it's a solicitation that the offers were due by last week, if the offers were due Friday, as of Friday night, it goes inactive. If it was an award notification or a sole source action notification and it had to be active for 2 weeks, at such point as that 2 weeks runs out, it is considered inactive. It could still be useful for market research purposes, but there's not an expectation that industry is going to interact with it. And since I included inactive, you could see that it had a little a button and emblem saying that it is inactive. All right, so keeping an eye on the clock here, I'm going to move to a specific opportunity. I'm just picking the first one on the list. There's no magic here. And I'll show you how to quickly assess it and then what to do with it if you want to save it. So they all follow the same structure. There's a name. If it's some kind of number, it will be here. Sometimes it's a solicitation number. Sometimes it's something that looks kind of strange. Agency, the dates, when it was published, if it had any changes, when it's due. PSE or product service codes and NAICS codes are here. Place of performance, which is where it is. The descriptions sometimes are lengthy. Sometimes they will have nothing and just attach a document. Some of them will explain everything here. The attachments don't always come through, so you may have to refresh a page. Sometimes SAM gets really weird about just the document, but you should be able to, if you refresh it, you should be able to get it. And at the bottom of all of them will be contact information for the procurement office for it. And it will include a history. If there's any changes, it will say when it was changed. All right, so if I like this opportunity and I want to keep an eye on it, I could choose to follow it, which is right up here. And now it says unfollow, which means I'm following it. So when I go to the workspace, it will show up. So now we have created a search and saved it, and we have followed an opportunity. So when I go to the workspace, I should be able to see both of those. So I'm going to click on the workspace up top. And this is the page where I landed when I first logged in. So now it looks, why does it look different? Why does it look different? Okay, I need to update my search because this is very different from before. So they've made the things harder to find, right? So we're gonna go to the top right here, and they do both show up, fortunately. So here's my saved searches. I'm gonna need to redo that presentation. So here's my saved searches, and the trucking, which we did today, is the first one, last day saved. And these are from past classes, so you could see some of them were more recent than others. Now this search, if I click on it, it will bring me back to this results set that we just saw. It'll just show those opportunities. The other things I can do here is I could change the name, which means I would have to retype it. I can't just fix my bad spelling here. I could also duplicate it. So for example, if I wanted to do the same search, but just for a specific agency, instead of reselecting all the criteria, I could use the same search and then make a couple of tweaks and save it as a new one. I could delete it if I don't want it anymore. I could select and notify, and it will notify me every early morning of any new items that meet the criteria of that search. And I could also download the search results. So for this one, for example, I could just delete this one and then it's gone. Screen disappeared. That is very weird. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes,
you.
we can.
Okay. I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry. Hold on. Right. I think my connection just dropped for a moment, but that's okay. Right. Okay, so here's my followed records, and I'm going to bring that presentation back up. All right. So hopefully I wasn't gone for too long, and we're able to see the actions that are available for saved searches. So then,
Yes, we saw it.
thank you. All right. So going back to the workspace, I want to show you how to find those opportunities that you followed or those records that you followed. So click on followed records. And this is the one that we saved today. So I could either, when I check it, I could do for selected actions. I could decide how often I want to be notified about it. Or I could choose to unfollow it. And I could sort it by a couple of different things. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of data elements available here, like I mentioned when I was doing the screenshot. So if I wanted to know what agency this was in or when it's due, I'd have to create my own follow along kind of spreadsheet to track it better. But since I only have 3 here, I could just click on all of them and get that information. So I'd like to shift to the reporting function on SAM. But while I do that, if there's any questions, let's get to that section. And I do not have the chat open yet.
Oh, if you could, because I'm responding to some of the Q&A, and then I'll go back and look at the chat, but I'm responding to everyone in Q&A. I believe Curtis is looking at the chat. If you can move on to the next one, and then we'll have some questions to follow up on.
All right. So show me controls, chat. Oop. Since it kicked me out of the meeting, it just went all haywire on me. That's not it. Okay, so Curtis, if there's any questions in the chat, please let me know. Otherwise, I will. Any questions relevant to the searches? Otherwise, I'll move to the data bank.
It's one question they asked, will save searches show new opportunities as well, or just opportunities that were active when you saved the search?
So when it depends on the parameters. If you didn't set a date on the parameters, then the next time you pull up the search, it will, at the time that you pull it up, match the search criteria against what's in the database. So if you search for trucking a month from now, it will pull up as of the time you run that search again, based on the criteria that you have selected. Also, if you set up notifications, it will send you notifications every day of items, of any new items that meet the search criteria.
Thank you. That was it.
All right, excellent. And I just figured out how to get my chat to work. Okay. All right. So the other functionality of SAM that I'll show you today, and this is where the slides that you'll see later will be more useful as a reference, and that is the standard search. There are 36 reports available within the data bank that make it easy for you to get your hands on some information, some actionable information really quickly. And those reports are listed here in summary on the next couple of pages. And I won't read all of them. I'll just highlight what they are. So the way to get to them, instead of hitting the search button, you hit data bank, and it will default to standard reports. If you like any of them, you could add them to favorites. And then when you go to standard reports, you check the box for favorites, and only your favorite reports will come out. It's kind of like bookmarking them. So the reports are, I'll show you what all of those are. So page 1, 2, 3, and they list, I just copied and pasted the wording straight from their descriptions. So the awards are by the type of contractor, for example. They are also by any procurement vehicles or GWACs. I'm just highlighting a couple. There's a competition report. This is an interesting one, is where there was a competitive solicitation, but only one offer was received. So for a couple of folks asking, are these contracts wired? Are there really opportunities? Do a quick pull of competitive requirements where only one vendor submitted a response. That's not the result that we're certainly looking for. We're governed by the FAR, which requires us to have a competition. So we're hoping for that. But there's plenty of opportunity where that does not happen. Some detailed reports. Oh, PIID is Procurement Instrument ID, also known as a contract number, in case you're wondering what that acronym stands for. Some other ones, this is terminations, not something you want to see. Geography, and then where is that? Small business reports, or sorry, the goaling report, somewhere in here. It got resorted, but oh, there we go. Potential vendor. So this is it's another one of those weird reports where I don't know why it's called potential vendor. What it means is that the requirement was set aside for small business, but the awardee is not a small business. Most of the time, that happens when an awardee that was a small business quickly gets bought by an entity that isn't, so they show up as different. I know that some of the Washington publications like to zero in on that anomaly report, but usually it's a nothing burger. Sometimes there are some inadvertent things that happen, but usually it's the acquisitions story. Oh, here we go, the small business goaling report. So that is, if you want to track how a particular agency or department is doing with respect to small business goals, this is how you could find it. And I don't have, we don't have the time to explain all of them, but I will be happy to do so if we have time at the end, or if you want to send us a note later. So, so the way that you select a report or define a report is once you click on it, right? So any one of these, you could click on the name, and then you have to put just a little bit of information in order to be able to pull the data. So you want to select the date range. It's usually, I recommend doing it by fiscal years, whether it's 1 or 2. So put in October 1, whatever year, to September 30 the following year or the following 2 years. You could select a specific department or agency, or you could leave it blank for government-wide. I rarely ever put in contracting office region because those things vary so much by office and by agency that I would leave that off. Otherwise, you'll get too narrow a result set. And then you just execute that report, and you could run it and you could download it. So let me show you how to do that. And I hope it didn't time me out while we were talking. Okay, good. All right. So from the main screen, we select data bank. Here's the standard reports. Now, I may have selected some favorites already. Let me see what my favorites are. So if I don't, there are a total of, I'm just scrolling down the page, there are a total of 37 reports, and this is how they come up. And this is just like the cheat sheet that you have in the slide deck, right? The report name, what it does, report name, what it does, and then the search criteria. And since I don't have it saved, it doesn't have that. Now, if I only want my favorite ones, and I'll show you which ones are my favorite. If I scroll down here, see this one has a little, the star is dark, it's filled in. That means it's a favorite. If I wanted to do this one as a favorite, I just click on the little star, marks it black. So now if I only want to look at my reports that are favorites, I check the box, and only the ones that have the stars filled in show up. If I want to run them, for example, the small business goaling report, I click on the name, I put in 10/1/2022 through 9/30/2023. I could select an agency or not, and then I execute it. And it will come up. Yes, it will come up. So very quick way to get some good data at your fingertips. Now this, because I didn't select an agency, it shows all of them. What I could do from here is I could drill in. So if you click anywhere along the top here on the top row, right click and did the drill, you could drill down by any of these. Here's what that means. So if I drill down by department name, probably it's going to take too long. That's okay. So it will, well, because this is already, I usually run it government-wide. So because this was already by department name, drilling by department name really didn't give me much other details here. But if I want to drill down by, let's say by place of performance state code. So there's 50 states plus foreign, which would be blank. So it could give me up to 50 lines per department, and then breaking it down into the small business goals for each one of them. So now you see the Administrative Conference of US, place of performance is DC. Agency for International Development by all the states that USAID awards contracts in, etc. And then it tells you the socioeconomic goals, small business goals for that year by total small business, and then the socioeconomic categories as you scroll across. And you'll also be able to download this across, export it into a spreadsheet. So you'll have the data set. You could also save it as a PDF if you would like. And that's the simplicity and the beauty of standard reports. Let me flip back to the presentation here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pause with the presentation here. I know there's a bunch of questions. And is oh no, my screen is static, huh?
Yeah, I think your screen is stuck, Anna.
Great. All right, so the competition screen, I don't even know where that is. Hold on. Let me stop sharing and I will reshare again. So can you see my screen here? All right. So let me see how far back it went. You guys should have interrupted me. I'm sorry. I don't know how long I've been talking without any. All right. So let me go back a little bit. Whoever is not muted and is giving feedback.
I just muted him.
All right, excellent. Okay, so let's go back to standard reports. We're able to see the screen here. Wendy, could you tell me what was the last thing that we talked about that that you were able to follow along with?
I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. I'm going to ask Curtis because I was responding to the questions.
Oh, Curtis, yeah.
I was saying about 2 minutes ago. So right at about 1:49. So nobody could see when you was talking about when you was moving your mouse. The only thing that was up was the competition screen.
Okay. So right. So what I'll show you again how to do a small business goaling report. So if we select that, and then we select the years, right? 10/1/2022 to 9/30/2023 and execute it. That allows us to get to a report pretty easily. And this is small business goals by department for that fiscal year, and it breaks it out by socioeconomic categories. We could drill down to the subsegments of that. So for example, by place of performance, and I think I did by where I talked through doing it by state. So you're able to see by different agency where the work was being done. And then what are the small business percentages of the work by state, by a particular agency or department. I'm just sorting it alphabetically right now. So for example, Administrative Office of the U.S. Courts in California, this is how much they spent, and 100% of it was with small business, et cetera. And you could follow it down to socioeconomic categories. Scroll down to, there's 44 pages of a report. So I'm not going to go through all 44, but just picking on Department of Commerce in Delaware, $631 million, 152,000 of that was with small business. No, I'm sorry, $631,000, right? So 24% of that was with small business and socioeconomic categories here, et cetera. If I wanted to do a similar analysis of another report, I'll just show you really quick. So where I mentioned that competitive procedures, but one offer, 10/1/20, 2, 9/30/2023. And let's say I want to narrow it down by Veterans Affairs. So within the Department of Veterans Affairs, how many times did we have competitive procedures, but only one offer last fiscal year? And that report will give me an idea of that. And I could right click, drill it down by contracting office ID. I could look at the different kind of orders or by office name and ask them additional questions. How do you explain this? What were those requirements? We will have much more time specifically to look at the different subsegments of reports and the different report criteria when we do the ad hoc session, which is coming up in, I think next, either in January, February. So happy to drill down and answer those questions if we run out of time today. So we have a couple of minutes. I can stay a little bit late. So let me turn it back. Curtis and Wendy, what questions do we have?
I've actually caught up on some of the questions in the Q&A. I was just going back to any that I missed. So I did see a few people were commenting in the Q&A saying where your screen began to freeze and they weren't able to see that, but you went back to update that.
Okay.
I'm looking to see, aside from the responses, how do you save the search criteria?
So you save the search criteria within a search. So if we go back to search and we select opportunities and I put in the criteria I want, I think, what was it? You're going to pick on one of the other ones, surgical instruments. Let's do that. Surgical instruments. Hit enter. I misspelled it. It doesn't matter for now because I'm not going to save this. And then I could select, yeah, make sure you type it properly if you're actually looking to get results. Veterans Affairs. If I wanted only for women-owned small business.
And this is how you search for veteran opportunities as well. I'm sorry, Anna. There was a question I think I saw in the chat where they asked, how do you specifically search for service disabled or veteran-owned opportunities? And that is how you filter the way she just showed you.
Yeah, so service disabled veteran-owned here. You know what? I will fix this. Okay, so if this is a search I'm happy with, I could do actions, save, surgical, SDV, OSB, December 12th. I recommend naming your searches as precisely as you can. You don't want to just say December 12th. You want to be, I should have probably saved this one even as surgical, VA, SDV, OSB, because you want to have as specific as possible. Some of them will work better than others. You may want to play around with a couple of different searches to see what kind of parameters yield you the best results. But that's how you save a search.
And another question is, how do you get to the follow solicitation?
Right. So the save is for results set. The follow is on individual requirements. So when you click on any one of these, any one of the specific opportunities or the requirements or notices, you can click on it. It will come up. And then you follow this specific record. And then you could unfollow it. There was another.
We answered all the questions in the chat. I mean, all the questions in the Q&A. I see Curtis answered a few in the chat. Is there a certain section for it? Oh, we already answered that.
Okay, well, if there's no more questions.
Somebody placed their email in the chat. I recommend that you reach out to, hey, Curtis, are you able to add the Apex Accelerator link in the chat? I can try to pull it up. Every time I pull it up, my screen disappears. I have to
put it in there. I'll put it in there.
Yes, I recommend for anyone where you're still a little confused to reach out to your Apex accelerators. They actually do assist you. Like, for example, with the question pertaining to state and local government. Someone mentioned in the chat, if you are doing business with state and local, because we're here federal, your Apex Accelerator will be able to assist you with that. And Curtis is going to put the information in the chat, and you can reach out to locate your nearest Apex Accelerator to get in, with a one-on-one meeting for them to be able to assist you on this business journey. Sorry about that, Anna.
No, thank you. So a couple of questions that just came up. The difference between all words, any words, and exact phrase. So let's say I'm looking for butter croissant. All words would be, I'm looking for the opportunity that has the word butter and the word croissant. It could be buttered bagels and croissants with chocolate. Any words, it could be an opportunity that has either butter or croissant. And the exact phrase is, I want things that only say butter croissants. And now I'm really hungry. How do you save standard contract data criteria? So with the standard reports, you cannot really save them. When we'll talk about ad hoc reports in a follow-up session, we will be able to save those. In fact, Curtis or Wendy, could you put in, if you haven't yet, the link to the rest of the reports or the rest of the trainings in this market research series? There's going to be 3 more sessions over the next 3 months, and we'll try to answer all of the hard questions then. All right. If there's anything else, I'm happy to hang on for a few moments. I've tried to, my team has been working hard trying to keep up with all of you guys. I haven't even tried.
With the time, Anna, what I'll do is when I send out the presentation, a copy of the presentation, I'll include the link in there.
Okay.
I thought
Perfect.
I posted it earlier, but I might have forgotten to post it earlier.
Okay. Yes, and yeah, we'll try to catch up anything on anything that got caught in between my screen being weird. All right. Well, thank you guys. It is 2:02, and I don't see any other questions popping in, so I think we will be.
Well, we have one more question, Anna.
Oh,
Are these the same opportunities that are available on SBA Dynamic Search?
The SBA Dynamic Small Business Search, that is a search for entities that does not have opportunities on it. So the entities that are listed on SAM. So if we do, okay, I'm veering off here, but that was a good question. So if, for example, we wanted to search for entity information, this is how we could search for vendors. And let's say we are putting in OBX Technologies. They were a sponsor at a conference. There's no good or bad reason other than just I remember the name. And I may not be spelling it right. So, well, let's do this. Let's do Microsoft. I know they're in here. All right. So Microsoft obviously has multiple different subsidiaries and segments. So we could do it that way. The dynamic small business search pulls from SAM records. So when you register in SAM, if you check the box for being small, your record gets ported or copied into the DSBS. And that search only has records of companies that are small businesses registered on SAM, and that is dsbs.sba.gov. This is not a pretty site, but if I were to search for Microsoft here, it would not come up.
When you finish this search, can you go back and show how to search for the NAICS and the product service code? They're not able to see it. Well,
okay, sure.
Yeah, if you can show it for them, please.
Yeah, so contract information, or I'm sorry, contract opportunities. It will be the product or service information, and you could do by NAICS or PSC. And you could either do it by, if, for example, if I know 541519, could do it that way, or if it is poultry and I don't remember what code it is, I can't find it that way. Nope, we can't. So you'd have to know where it is. Now, if I think we could do it this way. So if I know it's an agriculture product, not able to drill down here much, but you could sort it by general codes, and then everything within that general NAICS will come up. So if it's 11 and then a couple digits under it, it'll show up there. You could also go to the NAICS.com or the SBA NAICS code listing that they publish every year and find that NAICS code and then look for it here. I think, oh, it's USA spending, where you could type in the words and the NAICS will populate. We'll
And
also
the census too.
sorry?
It's census. Always Google, but if you would just use your search engine and say census NAICS code, and I'm typing it in now so I can remember. Yeah, www.census.gov /NAICS. It actually takes you to the census website where you can search a specific keyword, like you were saying, Anna, and it will populate the NAICS codes, all the NAICS codes within that. It also breaks it down from, because every few years the NAICS codes do change. So it goes from 2012, 2017, and 2022 if you want to use the most recent. So you could use a keyword like Anna was saying. I think somebody said bakery or truck, and it will produce all of the NAICS codes within that, and then you would figure out which ones fit for your business. Sorry about that, Anna.
No, thank you. Share the URL or link to search for NAICS codes. Yeah, thank you, Census. Timothy, construction management, personnel experience requirements and past project experience. I'm not sure about your question. Perhaps send an email to our team here at OSDBU BA. That is quite a different topic from this. Past award costs that have recently won. Kind of. You could find pricing, or not pricing, you'd find obligations on SAM. We'll talk about that on advanced reports. You could also find pricing on USA spending. Both of those are separate webinars in this series, but we will definitely get to that information for sure. And in fact, when we talk about GSA, one of the tools there is a labor costing tool that I'll show you. Super quick and kind of fun to use. Right. You do not receive a notice when your DSBS is active, Latanya. It just give it 24 hours and cross your fingers. Okay. All right. I think we are good, right, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, and like Anna said, if you have any questions, additional questions, please don't hesitate to email us. I placed our email address in the chat. Our email address is also attached when you receive those emails, which is osdbustratcom@va.gov. And I apologize, Curtis, I think you were getting ready to say something.
No, I said we're good to go. Thank you.
Happy holidays, everyone. See you at the next webinar.